Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me? Perfect. Can someone say hello as well on audio? Because I have no sound back.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Oh, awesome. Yes. Oh, and we even have audio in the room, which is great. Good.
So nice and
Okay,
loud.
so welcome to BDS 3003. This is our in-person session or online. I do think that we have one brave student, Jeremy, who's joined us in person at the Humber North campus. And then the rest of you, welcome to our class. And I will go over the schedule in a little bit more details as well with this class. So I'm very excited to be here. And now I have to be close to the computer, first of all, for the people to see me. But there might be time if I have more students, if I walk into the room, those of you that are online, you may not see me, but I still have to stay as close as possible to the computer. We don't have a mic so that you can hear me clearly as well. And then, so we're going to go over today the course outline, and we are going to jump into information architecture. And then I will also explain how the class will go with Sarah. So you had a class with Sarah. For those of you that are not in the transfer program, most of you have a class with Sarah, BDES 3003. And she may have already talked a little bit about what... Hey, come in. Awesome. So we do have more people coming in. Hello. Have a seat. You can pick any seat. So you can sit in the front. Great. So we're just going to let our classmate to set up, and then we will continue as well. If you are together at the table, you can't. You have to keep your mask. Yeah. But me, if I stay here, I can't. But if I get closer, and I do have to stay close to the computer for the mic at this point. But please have a seat.
Maybe. Do you like us together? I'm not kidding. Oh my God, I thought they were air conditioning. Yeah, me too. That's why I brought my sweater. I'm so used to the classroom being cold.
Yeah, it is warm in here. Or it's good temperature.
They really want us to fall asleep, but then knock us out. Just turn your neck.
I guess like everybody else who's coming in person might still be like trying to find class.
Just gonna give a few minutes.
It's not easy to find if you're not if you haven't been here before.
Yes. So that was me yesterday. I had never been to Humber College. So this is the first class that I do in person. I was telling Jeremy, I came in yesterday to get familiar with the campus and then find a classroom and also set up the computer and set up the audio and the projector. So it all worked out. But yes, it's a bit confusing to find this place in the first time.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit apart until I can breathe again.
It looks like it's multiple buildings have been connected together over the course of the years.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
But did you see the new one?
I know. Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. I just want to make sure that online you can hear me well. Still.
Yeah, can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so we are getting set up. And what I will do is... Now, it's been a while I've used Blackboard, so I just have to make sure that I'm sharing the files.
Makes sense, though. There's only one class. Like, why would I want to see so much money? You know? I was questioning the same thing with parking. And I'm just like, $10 a day. Yeah, versus. I'm not paying 293 for like being here once a week. It doesn't make any sense. Because I'm like, they didn't give us a discount, but you know everyone's not having a full-time class here. I digress.
Perfect. So we almost all set up. Welcome to our class. For those of you that have chosen to come in person, very happy to see you and happy to meet some of you. I have talked to several in this class, so very happy to finally get to meet you. And then for those of you that haven't had a class with me, well, this is where you're going to find out about me as a teacher. I like to be very in real stuff, real life. So I do go spend a lot of time online. We are going to look at website together, and to me, design is about real life problem solving. So helping businesses and helping big brands to do better. And then get better in business and better versus their competition. So you're going to get to know me, and then, as I've mentioned, this class, you've met Sarah yesterday. Some of you have met Sarah. Some of you, those of you that are in transfer, I do know that you're not doing the BDES3003, which is a course, we call it the meta course. So this class and Sarah's class will be working together on a big project. But for those of you that are transfer, we still have something for you to obviously do, but you will not be doing the studio, and you will not be doing the big project that we do between the two classes, but you will do the same assignment, but just going to work on different companies and different brands. But I will give more information about that. But the majority of you are doing 2003 and 3003 as well together. So this course, I am the one who will be teaching information architecture. And we are going to go through the schedule as well. And I know there was a bit of confusion as to when are we meeting and where are we meeting. But I'm glad to see that most of you, a good number, have made it in person. And then some of you have done it online as well. So this class, as I said, is about information architecture. So you will learn everything about information architecture. We are going to go in more details what IAs. So some of you might have heard the term IAs for information architecture in the past. I will say information architecture is the foundation. So it is a foundation of any design, whether it's a website, whether it's a kiosk, whether it's an app. It's the foundation. So it's really, really important to have a solid IA. Good morning, come in. Yes.
How do we connect to the Wi-Fi? Did they give
So,
us specific instructions?
Yeah, so to connect to the Wi-Fi, it's the Wi-Fi is called My Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then it's your N number. So it's your student number. And then your password will be the password that you also use to log in as well to that network. So yes, for most of you, I believe this is your also first class in person. And if not, then good, you're familiar. But the vast majority of you that are here, this is your first class. I know this is the first class that Jeremy is having as well. So this is a big day, right? It's been a bit of a challenge, but welcome. I know this is exciting. It can also be stressful, but we are going to get through, and hopefully you'll have more opportunities to do other classes. This is the only class that I'm actually doing in person, but every second week. Every other class that I teach are also online. But you do not have to come in person if you don't want to. You can still do online, but you will see value in person, especially for the studio part, where we do work on the project with Sarah, in combination with Sarah in this class. But welcome. I know this is good, and I'm glad that you found a place, because it was a bit of a challenge to find this location. Yes.
So if there is a week that we can't make it in, would you like us to just communicate that to you in advance?
So if there's a week that you cannot do it, so what I like to do is, if you know you're not going to attend to a class, you can send me a message, course message, and say, I'm not going to be able to attend any classes. All classes are being recorded, except the studio. It's going to be hard to record the studio, but all lecture are recorded, and today is a lecture, and the Tuesday online is a lecture too. I will explain a bit more of that. But typically, if you're not able to make it to a class, you can just send me a message and say, Professor, I'm not going to be able to attend the class.
In person, but like if we could do the online
Tuesday.
for whatever reason, yeah, like if we could do the live session.
Yep, the Tuesday. So I will explain the schedule, and we meet once a week. It's either on in person like today, or it will be online. And next week will be online on a Tuesday.
And then Sarah will be in person.
Exactly. And then I do the studio today, but you don't have to stay. The transfer don't have to stay for the studio. But yes, it's a new concept called a mega course. So I teach 3 courses at Humber, and I'm teaching in 3 meta courses, so there are 2 teachers. But I'm the one who's solely teaching information architecture. And this is, we have our own Blackboard. It's a 3 credit, and then you get your full mark for anything to do with information architecture on the joint project. Okay. So I'm glad to see that you've made it today, but we're going to go in more detail. So for those of you that are online, you can use the paintbrush or any tool that you might have. So good morning, come in. And I just want to know, which mood are you in? So if you're online, you can circle. If you want to tell me if you feel lazy, on fire, angry, worried, that would be awesome. And if you are here and connected to the Wi-Fi, you can go to Blackboard, and you can also interact if you want online too, right? As if you were home. So do we have anybody who is able to go online and who's able to circle, which I think you should all be able to. Let me see. Or perhaps you can tell me on your chat. So you're probably lazy, right? It's been a summer of no classes, and some of you, well, yesterday you had a class with Sarah, but it was online. If you're on fire, great. If you're angry, then hopefully you'll get to a better day. And then if you're worried, then that's normal. We always, ask ourselves a lot of questions about what the course will be all about, what we're going to do, how many assignments we are going to have, which you will get more details today as well as we go through. So if you're online, it's always, as a teacher, it's great to have people on cam, and you don't have to, but please make sure you have your mics off as well for those of you that are online. Now, if you do have questions and you want to come ask questions, you can raise your hand, or you can come to the chat as well. You can come to the mic. This room, when we are in person, has the audio, so I can hear, but you have to be make sure that you're clear and loud. The room is not as audible as being close in the small room, and then please interrupt as well. So I do expect questions. I do expect interaction, and you will see we are going to get into some real life example today. So we will do some quick action. We're going to review today the course overview. We are together until 10:40. This will go very fast. High level, what is information architecture? I also want to hear from you at some point too. What do you know of information architecture? And then there's information architecture, there's navigation. So one of the assignment will be navigation. One of the assignment will be user flow as well, user task and user flow. So there was a time where most websites 20 years ago, the websites were very much content driven. So it was blog, it was article, and they've evolved. They become a lot more interactive. So now the websites are Excels. We have, Google Sheets, Google Docs. We have websites that are very transactional. So there is some information architecture, but there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of navigation. There are flows, which you will all learn in this class, and you will learn from Sarah as well. We are going to look at the details of an information architecture. And what is information? What is information, and what is information needs? How do people look for information as well? And then how do people retrieve information? And then what are some of the tools that we can use to actually really get to design a good information architecture? That will be very critical. And then today we are going to talk about the latch. And latch is one way of classifying information. We are going to hopefully cover a bit of it. If not, then in this class, just so that you know, is usually 3 hours a week of lessons, but we have 2 hours a week. So there's going to be some time, and I have videos that have been pre-recorded that you're going to be able to watch on your own, and you're going to have to, and my recommendation is that you really do, because this is where you're going to get more insights. And I do have a video that talks more about Latch as well. Yes.
I see that we also have a break and then an afternoon class with you. Is that lab?
It's the after this, yes, we have a break, and the after is the studio. It's
Okay.
not the lab.
So 11:40 a.m. to 2:20.
Exactly, 11:40 to 1:25 is the studio, and this is a piece where we are going to work on a real project for, and then these will be our assignments. But if you're a transfer student, you're not going to do those same assignments. So, which I think applies to you, right?
No, he does.
Oh, okay. Your transfers?
No, we're
okay.
all BDES.
Okay, so you're all BDES. Okay, sorry, my
We'll
apology.
be with you.
Okay. Awesome. So yes, so the studio, we're going to talk about the studio, and the studio at 11:40 will be the big project for all of our assignments as well. But the labs, so you've mentioned labs. Every week we have labs. We're going to go through a typical week, but every week there's a lab, and then you have to submit your lab. And then it's a small percentage in terms of overall percentages of the labs. We're going to look at the details. But the labs, I really recommend that you do them, because it's an opportunity for you to practice, and then I give you feedback, and then that will make you better in your assignment. So all labs are connected to the assignments. And then we have weekly labs as well. So this week is the Latch lab, which we will talk before we finish the lecture today. But if we don't have time to go over Latch in a lot of details, there is the video that talks about Latch as well and other components of this class. Okay, so
Sorry,
yes,
sorry to interrupt.
no need to be sorry to interrupt. I want you to.
I was in terms of like class, and then like textbooks.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through textbook. Yeah, so we have textbook as well. So there's a textbook as well. Good question, but we're gonna get there. Okay, so in terms of me, I've been teaching with Humber. This is my 3rd semester with Humber. This is the 3rd time that I teach this class, this information architecture class. But I've taught it at the certificate level, and I will say that there's more depth and more content in the BDES program as well. So, but this is the 3rd time that I teach it. It's a fun class, and the students really enjoy it. I also teach at another school, so I'm teaching 5 classes this semester. I teach digital, I teach human resources, I teach information systems, and my background is in UX and user research and user experience design 25 years ago. I come from the business side. So I worked for multiple businesses. I was lucky to work for travel for quite a long time. So I worked for travel, and I've traveled. And I was leading digital. So I was leading digital strategy, digital UX. I was leading analytics, UX, design, content, and the strategy as well. So you will see when we talk about studio, when we talk about IAs, it's really important that your IA is tied into a strategy, into a business. So there's no IA without a business. There's no IA without a user. There's no IA without an intent. So I did a Master of Education, so this is where I've learned a lot about education and teaching and learning, and I've been teaching full-time for 1.5 years now, but I taught before part-time. But I will say that I come from a lot of experiences, like real experience with businesses. I worked at Sunwing, I worked at Air Canada Vacations, I worked at Rogers, so for some big brands in Canada, so I'm very connected, and my recommendation is, we're together in this class, but I will say follow me on LinkedIn. And I have helped students to get connected to businesses. I've helped students to get internship as well in the summer. And why we have these classes and why we have these environments is everything that we do is very collaborative, right? So you're going to work, and today in the studio, you're going to work together on projects. They are individual assignment, but there's no digital, there's no design, there's no UX without collaboration. So, and you will see that we're very multidisciplinary in our work, in our business, and this is what we also try to do in school, so that you don't feel disconnected when you get to real life and the real business. And information architecture, I will say, I've done a lot of information architecture. I've done a lot of wireframing, sketching, navigation. I've done a lot of user research, so usability testing. I've taught usability testing at Humber for some of you. And getting involved with the user, knowing who they are. You will do a lot more research courses as well. It's really, really important. And I will say you should at least do one user research a year. You probably think, well, that's not a lot, but you will see that some businesses don't. So this is your job to bring that mindset of doing user research for better design. And often design will start from a research, and you will find an opportunity, you'll find a gap, you'll find a holes. And so that is a little bit about me. Now, after I've done a lot of UX for many years, I said, I think UX, and we're talking UX 10, 15 years ago, there was no customer experience VPs or director or even like or chief of user experience. So I said, I think I need to do an MBA to know more about businesses, how we manage businesses, and be able to speak the language of a business, and then bring UX at the table and make big decisions and influence digital and influence the experience. So that's a bit of my experience, and I will say that users are very important, but my advice to you is also be aware of business and think about the business and think about the value that you will bring, very critical. And you're going to hear me through our IA's discussion about the business and the user and the business, how important they are. In terms of my teaching philosophy, so I will try to make you think, because I think it's very important, and you're probably going to laugh. Well, we always think, but sometimes I will, you may ask a question and I will maybe revert it back to you and try to help you to get through an answer together by asking you the right questions, which I think will help you when you get to real life. And we are going to look at real life sites. We are going to look at, I look at opportunities to bring critical thinking as well, or participation, or skills that you will often see listed on the job description that has nothing to do with UX, but it's as important, if not even more important. And then opportunities sometimes to discover on your own. So I think today's exercise will do a bit of discovery. So discovery means that instead of me telling you what I is, I may ask you, what do you think I is? And go and look for example of I's, and then you bring that back, and then we discuss it, and then we'll fill in the gaps together. This is a time to try. This is a time to not be afraid. This is a time to jump in, ask questions, try new things. I don't expect you to know anything about IAs, really. So I don't expect you to have answers to everything. And I will say, do try to provide answers, or try things and challenge yourself. And I think this is going to help you with your learning as well. And then I will always be very supportive. So this is the moment to try new things for you. There's no one recipe, so I will say that along. When it comes to information architecture, there is not one perfect information architecture out there in the market. There is a good information architecture for a business, for a specific business, for a specific business and industry, or a company, or a brand, a set of user based on the priorities. So there isn't one recipe, and you're going to hear that again along. And but you will learn a methodology, and then hard work pays off. So the more you get involved in this class, whether you're online, whether you're in person, come in. Good morning. It will help you for your learning. And this starts from today. This starts from whether you're online, from the studio, and the labs as well. So use the lab as an opportunity to really try, and then you will get better in the assignment. So what I usually see, the students that are really engaged in class do better, and the students that really do the labs from the get-go, from week 1 to through the semester, actually really improve and do better. And at the end, I always see like a major evolution in the market. So you're here for you, right? You made the choice to do this class for yourself. Before I go and I continue, are there any questions about anything that I said at this point? I know there's more about schedule and assignments. We will get there. Just want to make sure there's no questions online. Can you still hear me very well online? Perfect. Okay, so what are we going to do in this class? We are very simple. We're going to learn how to create information architecture. Well, what is information architecture, and what is an effective information architecture, and why do we even have information architecture? So I have on the board what you may have seen as an information architecture. Often it's a bunch of boxes with a tree. There's a box at the top, and then you have more boxes, and it's very hierarchical. So it looks like there's a hierarchy. So here we have a shoe website homepage, women's shoes, and then high type of shoes. We could have something similar for furniture. We could have something similar for vacation, something similar for Rogers, for cell phone, for wireless. So it's a tree, and then you have boxes. And this is really meant to show what will be the content, what will be some of the pages. You may think, well, it's really simple. And I will tell you, anybody can draw this, right? It's really simple to draw an information architecture. And then fortunately, that's a challenge for us and for you, because people will say, well, anybody can do IAs, yes, but not everybody can do a good IA. Not everybody understands why we do the IA. And then what happens after the IA as well. So good IA will make it easy, simple for users to find what they're looking for, right? That is also navigating when they're browsing or searching as well. We're going to talk about search in this class. And it's easy to find. It's aligned with the business. So there's no good IA if it doesn't help the business. If Rogers is, if Rogers all if they want to do is actually sell cell phones, but it's hard to find cell phones. You may have the best IA, but if users are not able to find cell phones, then they're not selling the cell phones, right? So it has to be aligned with the business, the priority, and the users. So we need to be really, really clear on who are the users. And I have a small acronym for you as well that you will see in this class. I call it the bubble. So at this point, all you need to, you can make note of bubble, the bubble acronym, and I will explain what that is at some point. So that the users are actually finding that what they're looking for. So I go to Rogers, I want to buy a cell phone. Can I find a cell phone? Can I browse to a cell phone? Can I search for a cell phone? And then what else can I do as well? So a good IA will also encourage discovery. So you may go to Rogers to look for cell phones, but the IA is doing such a good job that they're presenting to you the internet. They're presenting to you the alarm system. They're presenting to you other options. So this is good IA, but easy to say, but harder to do, right? And good IAs are designed for business and users as well. So this is what we are going to do. Now, this course will teach concept, methods, and techniques. As I said, we are going to spend a lot of time on real sites, and then we're going to critique the sites. We're going to learn a method, cart sorting. So I don't know if you guys have heard of cart sorting. So one of the assignments is about cart sorting. So it's actually helping us to come up with categories and come up with groupings of content and information. Very, very powerful. And you do that with users as well. So this is user research. So that will inform you very early on that that's going to be one of our first assignment as well. And that will help us to do OIA as well. So you're going to learn that method, very, very effective method, and then to help you design the best information architecture. In terms of some of the class admin, so all of our assignments will be individual submissions, but you will be able to collaborate. We do want to collaborate, but you're gonna have to submit your own assignment. So that's really, really important. We're gonna show you where you will do that, but all assignment in this class are all for studios, except if you're a transfer, but anybody who's a transfer. So what I may want to do is anyone who's in a transfer program to send me a course message through a course message and email. So I know who you are. I know, Jeremy, you are one of them. And then I'll be able to maybe plan something and tell you what it is that you will do. But you will do the same assignment, but you may work on different businesses. But the assignment will be the same. So, but all submission, regardless, will be done individual submission. Blackboard is the best way for me to communicate. So there's a course message on Blackboard that you can use, and I do look at the course message on Blackboard regularly. Announcement, I will post announcements as well. So, but we do have the Blackboard for this, and this is where you do the online when you want to do the online. And then the course message is like an email platform. You can still use email, Yves@Rannou.ca if you want to. But I look at both, but the course message is one place that you can reach out to me, and the Blackboard collaborate as well. I have instructor contact info on Blackboard. I have the course outline and the critical path as well that are both listed. I do invite you to look at the critical path. This is where you will know, are we meeting in person this week? Are we meeting online? Very simple. The odd weeks, we're meeting in person. The non-odd weeks, we're meeting online Tuesdays. So in person is Wednesday morning, like this morning. And then the online is on Tuesday morning, as well at 10:45. And this is done through Blackboard. So we are meeting every second week in person like we are today. And when we're not in person, then we're doing the online. So I have listed the course schedule there too on Blackboard. Are there any questions about the course schedule? So in lecture, so there's lecture and studio. So now we're in lecture until 10:40. We're doing lecture. And today we were in person. Next week, the lecture will be on Tuesday morning at 10:45 until 12:30 on Blackboard. And we're not meeting in person, okay? So that is a lecture. So our lecture are every week for 2 hours, but it's either in person or either online. So next week will be online, the following week will be in person. The critical path shows you, and week 1, it's odd number, we're in person. Week 3 will be in person, and etc. So now, if you choose to be online and do online and not come in person, then Blackboard is available too. And I have created Blackboard sessions for both, for in-person or also for online as well. Now, the 11:40 to 1:25 is our studio. So our studio will be where we actually work on the real project for all of our assignments. And that will be this morning at 11:40. And I'm facilitating. But every week, those of you that are non-transfer, you're meeting for studio and you're meeting with either me or Sarah. So this week it's me, next week it will be Sarah. So next week, you're meeting with Sarah in person on Wednesday for her lecture, and then she will continue with studio. I will pause here. Okay, so when are we meeting and where are we meeting and when are we meeting next week? Perfect. Yep, 10:45, 12:30. Awesome. And are you meeting for studio? Do you have a studio next week? With Sarah. But Jeremy, you don't. So if you're a transfer, you don't have studio, so studio does not apply for you. But the majority, next week you're meeting in person, you'll be meeting with Sarah in the morning for her lecture, and then studio will be with Sarah. Exactly. Yes. Okay. Good. So again, it can be confusing. If there's still things that aren't clear, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But it will get easier as we go. Believe me, it was really challenging even for us as teacher to really be clear on the structure. Textbook. So there is a book that is, we say required. So I really encourage you to actually buy the book, or there are some versions that are available online through the library, Humber library. There are copies that you can buy as well if you want, but I've been told that they have reserved copies, they have reserved online, there's online copies, and then perhaps the library is here. I don't know if it's a matter of going to the library in here too, but I do know that I have it online. So I've used that book. It's online from Humber Library. It's available. So it's Information Architecture for Peter Morville, Rosenfeld, and Arango. It's 2015, and it's a very good book about information architecture. So it talks about everything that we will talk in class. Do you absolutely need the book to succeed in the class? I'll say no, you don't. But it's a good supplement resource as well. And since it's online, then why not download it or use it, and then go read the chapter as well per the wiki reading that I have mentioned in the class too. So that is the book. And then we have some list of supplemental resources that we've listed as well that I have listed. But if there's one book that you want to get Information Architecture from Morville. That would be my recommendation for the class. Okay, so you can get on the library, Humber Library, you log in and search for it, you will find it, and then add it to your bookshelf. Okay, so Blackboard deadline. So every submissions for assignment, you will see on studio, the dates, and you're familiar. Now, for all of our studio assignment, for all of the assignment for this class, we're all going to submit all of our assignment combined with the assignment with Sarah into one assignment. They're all going to be done on the BDES 2003, okay? But except for transfer, okay? But for everybody else, the assignments for this class, not the labs, but the assignment where you have the big grades and the milestone, which we will talk in studio today, or I think we're going to look at them, they're all going to be done through BDES 2003. If by any chance you go through BDES 3003, you submit, it's okay, it's not going to be a big deal, but you will see that you're going to be submitting a brief information architecture and chord sorting together. So it's combining Sarah and my assignment together. And through her Blackboard, but if you by any chance you submit it through mine, that will be fine too. But as we get closer to the assignment date, and our first assignment is September 27th, I will remind you where to go, okay? But don't worry about it. Now, they are set in the system, so they should all be shown in your calendar too. There's a calendar view in Blackboard, and then you can see to help you manage. All lectures are recorded. Studios are not recorded. It's hard because they're more interactive, but all of our class lectures are recorded, and then I post them. I have a link on Blackboard that shows you where they are being recorded as well. I have a YouTube channel, and this is where I put all of my videos. And this is where you will see the videos that I will be pointing you to in case we don't have a chance to cover all of the material in the class. There will be some videos that are available for you for your own review as well. But you will see that on the weekly, in an example of one over weekly. I'm not keeping track of attendance, but I do know, eventually I do know who's coming and who's not coming. And then, as I said, sometimes it helps me to know, is someone struggling because they're really struggling, or they're just not attending and they're not coming? Then I have a different way of helping and supporting. And then I usually have 5 days. From the time that I get a lab submission or an assignment, we give ourselves 5 days to be able to give back feedback. In this class, we have to give, you'll see that some of the submission for lab and the assignment are close. So I will do my best to give feedback very, very quickly on the lab so that you have the feedback for your assignment. And then, yes.
So I know in Sarah's lab, she said that her labs are technically meant to be finished in an hour. Is there a same guideline for yours, or do you feel like they kind of have no time limits? It varies.
I will say it varies. Latch, this week assignment, you may be able to do it within an hour, but the chord sorting assignment is a bit more intense, and the I is a bit more intense as well. So this week assignment, and I will show you on the weekly, where do you find the labs and then where do you submit? But it will vary. It will vary. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to go through too much about the program outcome. The schedule, we've looked at the schedule, assignment and lab. Okay, so I have on my Blackboard, I've listed all of the assignments because at the end of the day, you're getting a 100% mark for this class. Even though we're doing collaborative assignment with Sarah, you're getting 100% of your mark, okay, for BDES 3003. So here what I have on screen is what the assignment will be for, and I have to share Blackboard for our students. Oop, that's not what I want to do. Okay, and if online you have any question, please make sure you're not shy of asking. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the assignment. So, except if you're a transfer, and I will share more insight with you, but you will do the same assignment, but it's just the business will be different. Okay, the dates will be the same. You will do the same number of assignments, but you're not going to work on the same project as we're working collaboratively with Sarah. But these are the studios, so all assignments that have the biggest grades are part of the common project with Sarah that we're going to work on today. We're going to start working on studio today. So in this class, we are going to do we're going to have the first assignment will be I diagram. So the I diagram, for a responsive website and the cart sorting and IE diagramming. So that will be your first assignment for 20%. The second assignment will be navigation design. So there's IE, but there's navigation, right? For 20%, the third assignment will be the detailed user flow diagram. So you're going to produce a diagram, a detailed user flow diagram for a mobile app at 15%, and the navigation design for mobile app for 20%. The lab, so the weekly lab exercises will give you a total of 25% of your mark, and those are weekly. So we have multiple. We have at least 10, I believe, or 8 labs. So some weeks we skip, and you will know in the critical path, and you will know as we get through each week. But this week we do have a lab. But these are the assignments that we will do. So really, there are 4 assignments, and they're done conjointly with the project with Sarah, and the lab exercises will also count 25%. So that is a total of 100%. Okay. So whether you're a studio, whether you're a transfer, you're still going to do all of these assignments, but the business that we're going to work with for transfer will be different than the studio project, but it will be the same concept, the same depth of assignments. So you can find more details on the Blackboard as well if you want, and then I have them all, and if you click on each one, you will know the date. So when you click on assignment sorting, the first one, it says Monday, September 27th. So this you should see on your calendar for this class. You will see this in your calendar, but you will see a similar schedule under Sarah. But as we get closer to submitting, don't worry, I'll remind you, okay? There's 50 points possible, and then we go in a lot of details of what are the points, but it will count for 20% of your mark. So there's 50 points that I will be evaluating and marking each of your assignments, but it's weighted for 20% of your 100% of your mark. Okay, but you will see that as we get closer. Don't worry for now. It's a lot of details, but you can at least see that we're going to have 4 assignments, and we're going to have almost weekly labs as well. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so we talk about the course typical week, course philosophy typical week, teams. So we're not working in teams, but we can collaborate. So I have in my slide it says teams, but in the past I had teams, but we're going to do individual submissions, but you can work together, collaborative in class, and then a typical week. So let's look at week. So in Blackboard, you have every week there will be a week 1. So we are in week 1. And then what you will see is all of the topics. So these are all of the topics. And these topics you will find in the critical path. Okay. We are intro and information architecture and heuristic. We already have just an hour left in lecture. So when I told you this lecture will go very fast, it's already happening. You can see all of the topics. And then we have a section for readings. So I have readings that I have picked for this class. And I really encourage you to go through the readings. I would say most of them are pretty short, but it will give you a good overview of what it is that we're going to talk in any given week, and maybe some of them go in a little bit more depth that we would go in class. Sometimes I have a PDF that are attached to as a reading. This one talks about categories, so guide to information architecture categories. We are going to talk specifically about categories as well in one of our topic. For the textbook, so once you have the textbook that I share with you, chapter 1 and 2, and then I have some links, and then I share a tool with you. Okay, so there's a tool that you may have heard or never heard of. It's called Google Trends, and it's a very, very powerful tool. What it does is it gives you what people search on Google. So when we come to labeling, when we come to information architecture, and you have to label that specific category. So let's say that we are working at Rogers, and we have a categories that we think we want to call cell phones. We may think cell phones, and someone else may think mobile. Someone else may be thinking wireless. If you use Google Trends, and we're not going to do this in class, but if you click on Google Trends, you'll be able to say, Google, tell me most people search on cell phones, people search on wireless, or people search on mobile, you will get a very good sense of what is most popular. Why is this relevant? This is very relevant because if people are searching often on cell phones, it means this is what they think of. They think of cell phones. They don't think of wireless. They don't think of internet. So it's going to be easier for user to see that term because the likelihood is they're looking for cell phones. So if they see cell phones, then it resonates with them, right? It's a tool to help you to make decisions. I have also in readings for this week, I give you a bit of a summary of what are some of the activities that are undertaken when we actually do an audit, or we do information architecture. So in this course, you're going to hear content, obviously, right? We are categorizing content, pieces of content. We're trying to group content. So it's all about content. But there's features, there's functionality too, as well, that we're going to talk about at some point too. When you're going to hear content audit, often when you do an IA, you want to know what kind of content do we have as Rogers. So if we work at Rogers and Rogers says we want to have a new website, you'll say, well, do we have content? Are we going to be writing content? What do we want the website to be all about, right? So you're probably going to start from content, but you may have to write new content. Then information grouping, we're going to see the technique in cart sorting for grouping. Taxonomy as well, or nomenclature, and descriptive information as well. So there's going to be descriptions, and we're going to talk more about descriptions. But often description will help also search engines as well as Google to find the content. When you think of information architecture, we probably think about users trying to look for content. But there's this thing called Google. Google is a bot. Google is the technology, right? Google actually goes to someone's website and reads all of the content. And when Google is able to read the content, then Google can then know that there's something called Rogers, and Rogers has cell phone. And when someone goes to Google and goes cell phones in Canada, Google will show Rogers because Rogers sells cell phones. So there's us as human beings, but there's also technology called Google that we all know of. In the lessons, so every week you get to see lesson slides, and now they're hidden, but I'm going to make them available, so that you have them, you can download if you want. Then I have some async videos. So the async videos are videos that I have from other classes. As I said, this is the third time I teach this class. We have less time in lecture, so you will have to spend more time on looking at some of the videos that I have recorded from previous classes. And every week I point to you where, depending on where we're going to stop today, then I will say, go to these videos. And so this is applicable. And I will say, maybe go to this specific time in that video if you want. This is where we left it out. And then you'll have to continue because there's more material for you to explore as well on your own. So I have 2 videos this week that you will have. And then I give a bit of a sense of what are some of the concepts in those async videos. So in those videos, you're going to learn more about browsing versus searching. So we're going to talk about searching towards the end of this class. So we have customers that come to your site to look, or they're searching for content. We're going to learn what is the mindset of those users. Breadth and depth as well. So there's notion of breadth and notion of depth. You don't have to know that today, but you will hear. And also visual scent. And Sarah, I think, talks about visual scent. Latch. So Latch is the lab for this week. And also I share with you on those videos some live example. And I actually go through some sites. I think I go through Air Miles, I go through Air Canada, I go through Rogers, and I give them a hard time. Really, there's no one all good sites. There are some good, there are some bads, but I go through a lot in those videos as well. Now, as you go through the videos, if there are questions, you can send me course message, or next week we can open up the session with maybe any questions that you might have on some of those videos. But you will need to spend time on the async videos to be able to cover all the material because, as I said, we reduce the number of hours for lectures. Now, in those videos, some of them were recorded in the winter-fall session. Some of them were recording in the summer. So if I give dates there, ignore them, right? If I say, hey, these assignments, forget about the specific assignments, but really focus on the concept. So anything that I say about tomorrow or next week, you can ignore. Unless you think that it's relevant, that you can tell that it's still relevant to our class. but ignore the dates and ignore the submissions and the dates. But focus on the concept that I'm trying to cover in the class. Are there any questions before I continue? Okay, and then I go online. There's nothing online either. The lab for this week. So the lab. So every week, this is what you're going to find. So on the week, you'll have your lab. And then if you want to know what the deadline is for submission for lab, you click on it, right? Friday, September 10th to noon. So what we have done, Sarah and I, is all of the labs are due by noon on Friday. And then our assignments are due on the Monday, noon. So you'll have the weekend. You'll have a weekend. But don't worry about the assignment. But this week lab is due by noon on Friday noon. And this is where you will come and submit it. So you will submit, and then I will share with you. We're going to look at what the details of the lab assignment is before end of class today. So we're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to go through the assignment. So before Friday noon, you have to come here, and this is where you can do your lab submission. It's 2 points, so 2% is really 2 points, 2% for this particular lab. And it's flash, and I think it will take you less than an hour to do it. It's a very easy one to do. What else are you going to see for every week? You will see the class recording. So the class recording is a link that will take you to my YouTube channel. And then what I do is at the end of the class, I upload to my YouTube channel. And then this is where the closed caption are also being added to the video so that anybody that needs closed caption have it accessible as well for them. And then you can see other videos that I have on my YouTube channel from teaching that you're welcome to if you're keen and you want to learn more about other things than IAs. You will discover a few as like usability testing and IAs and digital and research and etc. as well. Okay, so now we know what will be each week. What I do is every Monday I make the week available. So by Monday, you will see the content for the week. The readings are always available. The lab I make available too. And then the recordings will be there too. So you can forget about the teams. We're not working in teams. We can work collaboratively, but all submissions will be individual submissions.
So like, do you mean in teams like we can like, we would all be submitting a different thing as in like different assignments? Or like, are we gonna be working in groups? Could we technically work on the same assignment and then just submit that individually? Or like, everybody has to do like completely their own individual work?
Everybody has to do their own individual work. Yes. So the question was, what do we mean by teams or working collaboratively for the assignment? So you can work collaboratively in the studio, or you can work with someone else if you want on the same assignment on let's say assignment for information architecture cart sorting. You could collaborate, work together if you want, or get ideas or help each other and brainstorm each other. But each one has to submit, and the submission has to be your own production. So you have to come up with your own assignment. So you're not
So bounce ideas off of each other.
Yes.
Support when needed, but technically it's our own.
Exactly. So you will see our first assignment will be the brief, IA and cart sorting. So you can collaborate, you can brainstorm, you can, like we are going to do that today. But at the end of the day, you have to sit down and you have to produce your own assignment, your own report, your own assignment. You have to do your own cart sorting. You could have someone else to help you with the cart sorting because sometimes you may want to have help, but you have to produce your own deliverable. Okay. I know it's different because I've done teams and everybody submit the same, right? So this is very different.
Yeah, I feel like it could be a good change because like we can like, I don't know, maybe like more topic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, like I have to like totally be thoughtful.
Yes. So I know it's a bit of a departure from what you're familiar with, but I think Sarah might have mentioned it. This course and Sarah's course, all courses are very important, but I say these are the most critical because they're the foundation to everything that you will do. So we want to make sure that you'll have an opportunity to collaborate, work together, bounce ideas, and help each other if you want. but you have to produce your own summary, your own report, your own deliverable, so that we can give you personal feedback, very specific personal feedback. And then you can really see, am I good? Do I understand chord sorting? Do I understand navigation? We good? Again, if you have questions as you leave the room or as as we go, uh, reach out to me, course message, or you can ask in class. I'll be more than happy to help. Now, for the lab submission. So the lab submission, as I said, I really highly encourage you to do the lab submission because you're going to get feedback. What I do is I usually give a generic feedback. I go through all the lab submission, and then I look at what do I see that is consistent in the lab from all submissions. And I do a summary and I say, here's what I found in all of the lab submissions. Careful, when I say navigation, I've seen that some of navigation were missing footer, navigation was not responsive. I give generic feedback. Then you can look at, okay, have I checked? Have I done all the things or have I missed? It's hard to give a very individual feedback. But if I see that there's really something that is really, really, that needs feedback and direction for a specific student, when I go through the lab assignment, I will give obviously that piece of feedback to if I see that someone is really struggling as well. But there's little time between the labs and this assignment. That's the reason why we use that approach. Okay, so we're done with the logistic or housekeeping item, as I say. So it's almost 10. So we have about 45 minutes, 30 minutes. What time this class goes to? 10:30? 40. Okay, 10:40. So we still have a bit of time. Okay, let me just make sure. I want to see what the class is saying. Okay, we're jumping into information architecture. Yay. Now, what you're going to find, though, is it's going to take a bit of time before we actually do information architecture. I think you're going to feel it's going to be at week 3 or 4 that we're actually going to do information architecture, real information architecture. Why? It's because there's a lot of questions we need to ask ourselves before we actually do boxes. I told it's easy to do boxes. Anybody can do boxes. But where people fail is asking themselves the most critical questions that we're going to learn together. So we talk about the course intro. We are going to look at some elements of IA, what is information needs, and latch. So we are going to spend time before we actually go to latch. This is a quote from the book. Information architecture is not about surface glamour. It's not to look glamour. It's mission critical. It's infrastructure. It's the basis. Its infrastructure has widespread and long-term impact. So we are not doing, you're not going to do information architecture every year. We are not going to be redesigning a new product every year. Often when you commit to an information architecture, you commit for at least 5 to 10 years. And then after that, what you do is you optimize your information architecture. You're going to be enhancing it. You're going to make it better. You're going to improve it. What's going to happen is you're going to create information architecture and you're going to have analytics attached to it. So it's a long-term investment. You're not just doing IA and say, hey, you know what? It's not important. It's going to change. The IA will stick. And sometimes if you do bad IAs, you're going to be stuck with something bad and you're going to be fixing and you're going to be fixing. So I want to prevent you from being in fixing mode. I want to help you to build a very solid foundation. And I will share with you, and I will try to share with you what are some of the trends that we see when we build IAs. But it's a long-term commitment. It's like a relationship. So if you're going to work for a business and they hire you, which hopefully that will be the case, to build an IA, it's going to be yours. It's going to be your IA. You're going to need to support it. You're going to need to maintain it. It better be good, right? But even if it's you work for an agency and it's not going to be your IA and it's not going to be your product, it's a long-term commitment. You need to make sure that you're building something that can be sustained, something that will be good, and something that will be there for 5 to 10 years. 25 years ago, when I started my career, like you're at the beginning of your career, the internet was almost non-existent. We were in building modes. We were building. So Amazon was being built, Google was being built, Yahoo was being built. All the websites that you see were being built. Amazon doesn't redo their IE every year. Same with Google. Google has no IE almost when you think of it. They're optimizing. So we're not as much building. Now we're optimizing. We're adding new elements to an IE. So you're going to learn that a good IE is scalable, expandable. I can add to it and not have to redo. So a quality of a good IE is being scalable, being expandable. I told you bubble. I have a bubble acronym. The E is for expandable, I believe, as well. What do we think the first B is for information for bubble, and if as we think of B for information architecture? Anybody has a guess? What would be B for my acronym for information architecture for bubble? So you'll see the little bubble is to help you to key questions. Do we have someone online who wants to share with us what we think B? Business, yes. Sorry?
It's actually business?
Yes, it is. B for business, business goal, business needs, business priorities. Okay. And then the next one, the U, then you will know. What do we think U is for? Hey, it could be urgency too. Users, business, user needs, user type, user goals, right? So in studio today, even studio or non-studio, for all of your assignment, it starts with the business. Why am I designing, right? So you're going to be designer, you're going to be user experience designer, you're going to design for a business goal. The business will give you money and it will say, I need you to build me an app. I need you to build me a responsive website. So our first studio project, we have 4 assignments. Our first project is responsive design, and the second project will be mobile app. And I think there's a bigger project as well that Sarah probably share with you. But our 4 assignments, 2 of them will be for a responsive project, so we're going to learn more about. But we have a real business. They have a really specific business goal. And then we're going to look at users as well. And then we're going to learn the other bubbles too, okay? But whatever we do when we do an IA, it's long term. You're going to be stuck with it. So you want to do a good job. Your client's going to be stuck with it. And if they're not happy, they're not going to rehire you if you're an agency, right? So, and you're going to be guiding them and helping you. You will see in our studio brief today, they give us a very vague description of what it is that they're trying to do. So we're going to go right into IEs. But before I do that, I'd like to ask and open up the question to the entire class, online or in person as well. What is information architecture? Anybody wants to give me, what do they know? If there's, it could be a word, it could be a sentence, it could be anything. What is IA? What do you know of IA? Yes, Jeremy.
Your previous explanation before, like here, from what I've gathered and tried to put in my mind and put together, I think I is more like a process in which you take time to look at the users, what the user does, and try what the user does, take down what you believe is important to them, and try and produce such a thing for them.
Absolutely. So Jeremy said it's a method, it's a process of knowing the user, what are they trying to do, and then how do we facilitate that, right? So they have an information needs, they have a content need, they have a goal. They're trying to do X. People don't go to Rogers just because they have nothing to do, right? We all have a lot of things to do. So how do we help Jeremy, who's looking for a cell phone or looking for a plan or looking for a new phone, to find, to search, to browse, to do it, and then move on, right? So there's a method. So IA is a process, it's a methodology, it's a set of questions you need to ask yourself. And you will see this will be consistent throughout your program, right? You're in design, you're designing for a business, you're designing for a user, you're designing for a user flow. The user follows certain steps. So knowing what that is a good way of defining IA. So you see that it's beyond content, it's beyond boxes, it's interaction. There's a flow, there's a, I give you my credit card, I pay, and then I use my service. That is experience. So I has expanded beyond just the boxes. So very good. Anybody else? What do we know of information architecture?
Everyone put the answers up.
Okay, good. Thank you. The structure of a design. Yes. Okay. So website organization. It's about organization, structure of information, website structure, the structure of design. How content is absolutely. So we are organizing content, right? We're organizing. We're structuring. We all do information architecture daily. You all do, right? So, for example, you all have inbox. You have emails, inbox. So you're structuring your inbox. So everybody has a different way of managing their inbox, right? Outlook will give you a default, will give you sent, inbox, and then you can flag, you can rename, you can create folders. We are all information architects, right? It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing too. Why is it bad? We all do IAs. Everybody does IA, everybody uses the web, but why is it also a challenge? How can it be sometimes not a good thing? That the fact that we all do IAs. Anybody has a bit of a hint? And again, this is the time to say any answer is a good answer. Why is sometimes different? Okay, Elizabeth said everyone thinks differently. Absolutely. That's one thing. We are not always the users, right? How Jeremy thinks about his inbox may not be at all how, we all think about our inbox too. So how do we detach from what we know? Our zone, our thinking, our way of thinking, our psychology, and how do we design an information architecture that will meet most of people's needs is a big challenge, right? Someone else said, what works for one may not work for the other. Absolutely. And then because people don't do enough research in cart sorting, absolutely. People don't do enough research. This is why I said, if you can do one research a year, at least you should. That will give you the best ammunition when you're at the table and you're defining your design. It will make you different from anybody else who thinks they know how to do information architecture. You're going to come to a business and people will say, oh, I've done IAs. Okay, great. But you'll discover that the IAs that they've done doesn't have all of the elements that we have to think about. So you need to be very, very confident. But our biggest challenge as designer is everybody uses the web, everybody uses the internet, everybody thinks they know design, but we know that there's a lot more than what they do and what they think, right? But some people are doing good work there too, and then we just learn from them and we take their knowledge as well. Okay, so we have a good sense of what IA is, but there will be more to IAs. So what I like for everybody to think of, so online. So I like for each one to choose a brand. So think of a brand and that you've never been online before, that you've never visited. I don't want you to think of a site that you've been before, okay? Because I want you to look at it from a new user, from someone who's new, okay? So think of a site, think of a brand. You can think of an app if you want to. And then, do we all have a site? I'll give you a few minutes. So think of a site. Now, I want you to think of do we all have a brand? So that's a good sign. It means that you've been to a lot of sites and a lot of brands. Or it could be a brand. Maybe you've been to their site, but it's been a while. Okay, maybe you've been, maybe you've been, but it's been a while. Or who has been to Sunwing website? Okay, so not too many people. You can think of Sunwing. Sunwing is one of them. Who has been to WestJet recently? Okay, so WestJet, Sunwing, Rogers, Fido, Costco. So the goal is I want you to think of a site that you don't know, that you don't go every day because you're biased, you're contaminated. Then I want the next thing that I want, you're biased, right? I want you to think of a user type and a user goal. So a user type may be a consumer. Okay, so a consumer of Costco or a business if we want to be even more specific, a business traveler who goes to Air Canada or a business traveler who goes to WestJet, that would be a user type. And then a goal. So the goal will be, why would a business person go to WestJet? To buy a ticket, right? So now we have a brand, we have a user type. So it's easier if you just think of a consumer and then a user goal, buying something. Now, we often think of buying, okay? But there's more than buying. Rogers was spending most of his effort online on their website to help people that had questions to not have them to call us. In fact, they did not want people to buy online. They want people to buy at the store. But 99% of what you will see on Rogers was the intent was to help someone to find their own answer and do themselves, pay their bill, look at their data, look at their usage. Never call me because it's expensive. Rogers, how much money do we think Rogers spend on a monthly basis on phone calls? Just a number. 1 million? They would be happy if it was just 1 million, but good number, Jeremy. I think it was close to $4 to $5 million a month on phone calls. So huge number, right? Why I'm saying this to you is we often think of IES bringing money, but there's IES saving money. Self-serve, help me find my bill, help me read my bill, help me add data. Okay, so very important. So maybe some of you pick Rogers, and then maybe I want to add data to my account. The other thing, then what I would like for you to do is you should all be able to go be connected at this point by on your Wi-Fi. Go to the site and try to find that thing that you said for that brand, for that customer that are online, and then make notes, or just you can make notes or go through the experience of finding. And also pay attention, how are you looking for? What are you looking for? How are you finding it? Are you finding it? Is it good? Is it bad? Anything. That will be good. If you don't have a computer with you now, then maybe you do it at home. Well, perhaps what we can do, Jeremy, is we can use yours and do it live as after everybody else. You don't have a computer, do you? Or? Oh, okay. You don't have to. It's up to you. Do we have any questions for online students? Are we all clear? Awesome. I see a lot of familiar names on the online as well. So I did not have a chance to look at a lot to the students' course, the names, but I know a lot of students in this class. I'm happy. I hope you're happy too. Okay. Do we all have a company brand? We've all been online.
It's okay. But I'm trying to understand, like, it's confusing because they have too many things going on.
Did you find a brand too?
I do.
Okay. Do we need more time, or we've had a chance to explore? Do we need more time?
No.
Okay, so who wants to share with me their experience?
Oh, Suncare. So I went on Rexall.
Okay, so you went to Rexall Pharmacy? And okay, great. What was your user goal?
Just suggested, because I didn't know what I was looking for, to be honest. She suggested I look for sunscreen.
Okay.
And so I went under their navigation under health, didn't see anything related to skin, went to beauty.
Yep.
Saw Sun Care. When I went on Sun Care, they're just telling me about their brands. You can hover over all the brands that they have.
Okay, so we went to Rexall, and then we're looking for sunscreen.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when were you browsing? Were you searching?
I was browsing.
Okay.
I went from the navigation.
Okay,
The main navigation.
perfect. And then where did we
I
go?
went to beauty.
Okay, beauty, yeah.
Sun Care.
Oh yeah, sun care, beauty. Okay, so we're browsing. So we'll talk about browsing versus searching, sun care.
And then I'm being educated with all the brands they're selling. So I want to try Neutrogena.
So now I have to look for a specific brand, right?
Yeah.
Were you looking for a brand?
I wasn't in the beginning, but I was like, oh, it's good to know what brands you sell.
Okay. Yes. So this is a very, very good example. Now they're kind of forcing me to pick a brand, but what if I don't want to pick a brand, right? Okay, great. So we see Neutrogena. What else do we see?
A lot of time now because
Oh.
they're educating me about the brand, which is great.
Yeah.
What if I just want to click and go, right? Like,
Yes.
find your solution.
Mm-hmm.
So this is confusing because I see they have online shopping, and what I just went through was just product knowledge.
Yes. So it looks like, so it sounds like you had an expectation of being able to buy it too online,
because
right?
they then suggested 3 products to me, and now they're just informing me more about the product I chose, which was Hydro Boost.
Yes. So there's a bit of a disappointment, right?
Yes.
So I heard it was hard to find. I was forced into it picking. And then now I thought I could just buy click and go, but now they're giving me more, and then I don't think I can buy.
I'm going further into the website, but further away from spending money. So.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, good. So simple. Like it should be simple, right? It should be a simple thing. But and you would think, being Rexall, it would be. I would say there's disappointment. I've seen worse in terms of experience. I have seen worse.
It's clean, the website.
Yes,
Yeah.
and yeah, we're gonna hear that often. Clear, clean. It breathes. There's a lot of white spaces, but we should never forget about the user and the user goal. And how quickly do we do that? How do we allow them? Now, there's a bit of a search box. I don't know how search works. If we wanted to search on sunscreen and see what happens. Sunscreen. No price. So we're looking for prices. So what we're saying at this point is, what is the information that the user will be looking for? So we're going in more detail. We said the user is a consumer looking for sunscreen. Now he's probably going to be browsing or searching. If he's online, he probably wants to buy. He wants a price, right? He's not thinking of maybe he's thinking of a brand specific, but maybe he's not thinking of a brand specific. And then now I just want to buy. How is that all facilitated? Knowing all of that is really critical to do good IAs. And when we often hear the site is hard to use, often it's because it's hard to find, hard to search, and then it disappoints you along the way, and it forces you to answer things you don't know yet. I did not know a specific brand. In fact, I want you to educate me, but I don't have to select a brand necessarily. But if I do, allow me to go directly to a brand if I want to. So I search on sunscreen, I get nothing. So I think what's happening is we were thinking, because I think the web has taught us to expect to be able to buy things online, but it's Rexall, but it's not really an e-com. They look like an e-com site. They kind of look like a traditional site where I can probably buy things, but I get very disappointed. Perhaps Rexall said we are not in online to sell, but there's a disconnect, right? Is there something we could do better to set expectation earlier? I don't know what the answer is, but the customer has really specific expectation. Knowing that will help us.
Maybe a different type of wording could be different, like you are trusted brands.
Yeah, so maybe there's wording that we can do that we can play with. But if you see, we start with a brand, we start with expectation. Now, the user, we had a specific set of expectation because the web has taught us as well. And that's really hard to take away from IAs. So knowing what the user know when we do IA will help us. How do I take advantage of what he knows or she knows so that I can deliver quickly is really our goal. So good. So that was one of them. Disappointed. At the end, we're disappointed.
It's even more disappointed telling me it's good. They're telling me 4 different ways to shop, but I can't buy from them directly.
Okay, so even more disappointing, right? So yes, that's the last thing that you don't really want to do. But it can be very complex, right? This is all IAs. So we're designing experiences, we're facilitating finding, but hopefully they've made very specific choices for specific business choice. You would think that you can buy and you could buy everything online, but it looks like you can't because they have this element that says online shopping, right? But they're kind of telling us if you really want to buy online, this is where you go. Everything else is not about online shopping. But we have to, there's a lot of thinking and questioning that we have to go through as a user, which a lot of people will not do that. But maybe there isn't another better way of doing this. We don't know. Maybe they've said we're just not selling online. But perhaps there's things that we can do better as well. Do we have anybody else who's gone to a site or a brand that was disappointed or happily surprised in class or online?
I did Fido.
Fido? Okay, so we did Fido, and who was the consumer?
Just like a college student.
Okay, and looking for what?
I mean,
Okay, and how was the experience? So let's open up Fido. So we are at Fido, and we are students. It's back to school students. There, we should expect back to school, right? The timing.
right there.
Oh, back to school. Okay, but let's see what path did we follow then? What happened when you went to Fido?
First, I thought maybe this site isn't online because there's like a warning thing.
You think it was not maybe online?
Yeah, because it had like a warning thing about this.
Yeah.
At the very top. And I was like, I read it.
Shop online, buy phone or in store, choose express pickup, da da da.
I
So
don't know why it's like a warning though.
yeah, it is like a warning. Okay, and then what did we do next?
Then I went to shop and then phone.
Okay, so we're shopping for phones? Okay.
You're buying me a birthday gift. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I selected Apple from the iPhone.
So we filter. So these are faceted navigation. So there's one of the topic in our class, facet navigation. Again, you may think, well, it's helping someone to find quickly. If they know that I'm looking for Apple, make that easier. So at this point, I'm expecting that all phones are only iPhone, right? Okay.
And then I saw iPhone 12.
This one.
Yeah.
And then what did we do here?
I put new details and there's a pop-up. I was like, crap, they're gonna make me like sign in or something. And I was like a little bit annoyed, but then I pressed get started anyway.
Okay, so there we were a bit of element of a surprise. Why are they asking me, forcing me, trying to collect something, forcing me, like, right? Annoying, right? I'm still very discovering. I'm looking for my options. I'm very high in my journey, right? Don't ask me too much information. I'm not ready to commit to you, right? So this step seems to be intrusive. Okay, but we said we will carry on because we're curious. Yes, so I see the product page again, and then what did we do? Did we continue or we gave up?
No, that was it. I just wanted to see the prices.
Okay, so we have a price. Okay. And are we happy with the price? Are we happy with what we saw? This seems to be like, oh, it's a down payment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes, this is an experience. I think this may be a typical experience that you would see. I'm high in the funnel. Maybe I think Rogers, I'm thinking Rogers, Fido, Telus, and I'm going to compare, right? So I was looking specifically for phones and then back to school. Some of us may have gone back to school and then phones. And then I was looking for a price. And it sounds like this user was actually maybe happy with that experience. It doesn't mean they would be able to buy, right? But it seems like it was somehow satisfying. That experience was somehow satisfying at this point. But this is based on us. We don't know if most users, that are prepared, ready to buy, would be able to buy at this point. But it sounds like this one was probably maybe a 7 to 8 on the scale in terms of that specific user goal. Did you have the same experience too? You did it together?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
I have a different
Oh, you have a different site?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Which one did you go?
I went to Humber.
Oh, Tobago? Okay.
But basically, I went in like as a traveler, picked a city, sometimes where I could stay, and then my main thing was being able to compare the different places because that's the first thing I look at when I'm traveling.
Comparison?
Yeah, comparison. So when you first search like a city or with the dates, it gives you a list of everything, but on the right-hand side, it immediately prompts you to look at the deal, which then redirects you to the hotel's website and takes you off of Trivago. So
Mm.
if I want more information just about the website, the hotel on the website,
Yeah.
it's kind of unclear, and I'm not going to tab, and it's just.
So we're getting lost in navigation windows here, right? Typing windows. Okay.
Well, from my point of view, this was a bit. I would give it like a 6.
A 6 out of 10. Okay, good. So it's good that we have this little scale of 10 now at this point, right? At least for us as a benchmark. So yeah, there was a bit of an interruption. They maybe, in their mind, maybe they're trying to help you to do comparisons, but maybe that's not the kind of comparison that you want to do, right? But very, very well done. Like we had a goal. We've looked. It sounds like you were able to find, but then it was just the redirect to the hotel was a bit annoying. But that's a bit of their business model too. But maybe there's another way of doing about that. We don't know, right, at this point. But
Let us know how we're navigating your website.
yes, so navigation, is it even available on navigation? Do I have to search? All these things. And what we did is exactly what we need to do when we actually look at IAs. When we design or when we look at an IA and we think of an IA and we think, can we do it better? It start with a business. Maybe this Trivago said we are redirecting to hotels because this is how we found that most people convert and buy hotels and we get our commission, we're happy. We don't know, right? So this is where we will go to studio. We're going to talk more about what is the business trying to do. We need to do to support them, but at the same time, we need to help the user, and we need to know who is the user, how much do they know, and what are they trying to do, and how do we facilitate that too. But this was a bit of an introduction to what is information architecture, good eye. So it's business, users, there's navigation, there's a sequence, right? There's steps in the sequence. We're a bit annoyed with Fido because they're asking me like, are you new, existing? It's, if you think of a task, which we are going to talk in one of our class, uh, we want to make sure that the task, the step that we're presenting are aligned with what people would expect, right? But when you're still just shopping for a phone, you're not even thinking about new, existing, upgrade. Like you're not thinking that, right? But now you're presented with something and you're forced to make a decision. And these little things adds up, and that makes a good or bad experience, and that may make someone go. And yes, did you want to add something?
I just want to add with Fido, I've been a Fido customer for a while now, and whenever I want to upgrade my phone or my plan or anything, I never go on the website because it's just too confusing. I'd rather just go to the website and have somebody help me.
That's really sad. Right. That's really sad in 2020, 21, in 2021, that we have people, someone in design, like in the bachelor design, who's actually choosing to go to a store because the experience is so bad online for a Fido who is, they've been online for a long time. They have all the intention. I know I worked at Rogers and I was supporting Rogers and Fido. And all of what we did was finding optimization ways to actually optimize the experience. So you probably say you did a bad job. It's never done, right? But Rogers is a very, very interesting environment to work for. Very, very political. There are a lot of decision maker and there are a lot of obstacles. So these are things, reality, real thing you're going to face as you get into your job. But Rogers wants people to do online and not go to a store. So you see, we're actually not helping at all the business objective. Rogers wants people to self-serve, upgrade online, do all these things on their own. But we're forcing them to go to a store. Rogers is a big beast, and there are about 300 systems that talks to the Fido website, about 300 systems that talks to the Rogers website, and nobody knows all of the system, how they all connected, and the system are often down and often broken, and no one is able to actually even fix all of it. It's a big monster. That's a big, big challenge that they have. So when you build a good IA, you have to think about all these things too. But at the beginning, it starts with the business and the user and the better experience. So perhaps maybe there'll be opportunities to work for fighters and help them and do better. Good. So any feedback or any other comments about any brands that anybody else has looked at? Yes, Jeremy.
I looked at Costco.
Costco. Oh, you went to Costco?
Yeah.
And who was the consumer, or what were you looking at doing?
More of the musical.
Buy musical?
Yeah, music. Like recording music.
Oh, recording music at Costco? Oh, can you buy anything to do with recording music at Costco?
I was just looking at that, and I was like from home, recording music,
Yeah.
vocals from home. And I came as a musician and I looked at microphones. And not gonna lie, majority there are a few that look good. There are a few that seem good. They didn't really try to sell anything. Majority of the only thing I would somewhat say, like even with location on the province, to ask where your province is.
Okay.
And what.
So that was probably asked earlier, right? Where are you? Which province? Which language?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I looked on, I saw a few microphones that were good.
Okay.
And but the problem was, I would say like there were probably not many reviews, and even from like just going online, you probably want to log on. Sometimes you can click and find out the price, but I don't know why they have this thing where like they have members only item.
Okay.
Like, they'll be like, oh, click. You probably have to sign up for something just to like see the price. You can still see the price if you click on it, but why like put that just to cover up the price from people who are just trying to browse online?
Okay. So it sounds like there's member versus not being members, and there's some questions around that, and then there's a step, and maybe not providing enough information to why are we asking for members, and maybe what the benefits are as well.
Yeah, that, and some of them don't really like look like give the kind of feel towards microphones and all that, because some of them have like additional tripod where you can set up your phone, something that you can probably like lighten and all that streaming stuff.
So we have an advanced user here in terms of music and recording. So this is also part of the user type, right? Do we have someone who knows little about music? Do we have someone who's intermediate, someone who's expert? And then they each have very different needs, right? And they're looking for very specific informations. And how do we facilitate that too is another layer that we need to consider when we do good IA and good design too. Good. And if you were home, would you continue, or you would have abandoned, Jeremy?
I would most likely have abandoned, because even then, with or without like the set different types of ways of tripod and the microphones look or the pricing and all that, they have a very limited supply, as they only have like 9 options.
Okay, so there's not a lot of options. So yeah, we definitely have an expert user here too. Good, awesome. So I'm glad you all went into and did the little practice. So that is, I will say, this is what we're going to do in this class, and how we design good experiences, good IA, good experiences, finding, browsing, searching, what happened, and then asking ourselves the right questions so that we help Fido, we help Rogers, we help Costco and the business to actually achieve what they want. Maybe they do want to sell a lot of recording equipment, but the experience is not good. Fido, as I said, they do want people to do online, but people are forced to go at the store. That's a problem, right? Your job is to say, hey, we have an issue here. And the analytics will tell you, we have people going to phones, people to go to upgrades, but they abandon. Most of them go to a store. Why? It starts with analytics too. That's a trigger. I talk about trigger in the video. Yes?
If we do another one of these, maybe we should do it online too, so the students online, they're like asking if the thing is frozen.
Yes. So absolutely.
It's like kind of hard for you to probably stay on top of it, like where you're in on the
I think to the microphone.
Yeah,
Yeah. They said it's mumbled. So like when we
Is it
try to
more-
respond with you, because we're distant.
Yeah, that's why I tried to repeat, but this is good feedback.
No, but
And
for us too, it's like being mindful of turning on our mic.
There might be
There's
Mm.
a lot of moving parts to it.
yes, so perhaps what we learn is when we, perhaps if we can, all of us should be logging into Blackboard, including yourself, so that when you ask a question, then they can hear, the people that are online can hear the question too. And if you're connected on Wi-Fi, but then what I do is remind me, and if I don't as well, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat too, but is to repeat the question as well. So again, there's going to be a bit of adapting, and for all of us. And thank you for online. Perhaps the online class will say, well, maybe it's better in person, and next week, well, not next week, but the following week, they're all going to come in person. There's room for everybody. But thank you for the feedback. And if there's more feedback after class, please send me a course message. I'll be more than happy to assist and help. Okay, so let's carry on with the IA topic. So we've done the little exercise. So we have about 8 minutes left. Okay, so I want to make sure that the Blackboard will see. Let me just share Blackboard again. Okay, so why do we need IA? Why do we need good IA? We want to make things easier for people to find. So we did Fido, Costco, and Trivago. We want to make things discoverable as well. So what else is there when I go to Fido for phones? What else can I do? And you will see, and I think this is a piece that I share in one of the video or the slide. More than 50% of people will come to your site from a Google search result. They don't go to Fido and start from the beginning and browse. They will actually go to Fido and go to Google, and they will say cell phones in Canada, cell phones in Toronto. Fido will be an option. They'll click on it. They'll come to a landing page. What happens is you as a customer or you as a user, you start looking around. This is discovery. You start looking around and say, what else? Who is this? Who is Fido? We all know Fido, or some of you may not know Fido. But maybe you don't know Trivago, but Trivago was one of the first links that we saw when we clicked. Then you come to this page, this area, and you look around, you say, what is Trivago? What do they do? What else do they have? So this is how do we facilitate discovery? That also means how do we allow them to navigate to this other piece of content that they want? And then what happens when I click? Can I go back? All of this flexibility. This will make sense in navigation. And then it's what we want is, we often say simple, easy to use, hard to use, or not easy to use. It's because of we've missed some step. We don't know the user. We don't know what he's looking for. We don't know if he's advanced. We don't know if he's intermediate. We don't know his information, what he needs. Maybe when I look for Trivago, I've looked for vacation before, and I know that I'm looking for a hotel that has a beachfront, that has towel and a club. Like I'm very expert versus I'm not. How do I help that? How do I facilitate? We want the user to focus on your business, on your product, not on the technology, right? Easy said, but a lot of business fail. A lot of businesses do fail from the get-go. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details about what good design looks like. I think you were going to cover good design with Sarah. But it starts from the business goal, the user goal, knowing the user, knowing who they are, knowing how they think. So cart sorting will help us to do that. It's useful, it's usable, and again, this deck is available for you to look on your own. Information architecture is the first deliverable that we do after we have done the brief. The brief will be the brief, and the IA and the cart sort will be your first deliverable. But it's really the first thing that you'll put in front of your client. You'll say, here's what we understood so far. Are we on track? It's your foundation. It's your house. It's your house foundation. So it's your layout. It's your plan, right? It's your black and white plan that will say, we're building a condo with 4 rooms, 2 bathrooms, the kitchen, right? Once you start building the house, you can't say suddenly, I'm going to change that. I'm going to move from a condo to a house, and I'm good. Like, you can't do this. This is way too expensive. But and you're going to hear with me micro journeys. So we think of a website as this big, massive thing, but we're building journeys, we're building experiences. So buying a phone, paying my bill, looking for recording devices is a journey. What is that experience? So a site has hundreds of experiences that you need to design and you need to support. You're gonna have to make choices, right? IA is information organization. So how do we organize? How do we categorize? It's schemes, structures, labeling, navigation, search. We're going to cover that in class. This is to show you the steps that we typically follow when we build a mobile app, when we build a kiosk, when we build a mobile site, when we build an app, as I said. We start from the stage. Usually we have 4 stages. Information architecture is usually the first deliverable on stage 2. So once we know the business, once we know who are the customer that we're trying to target, once we know the requirements, which is what we're going to start doing on Studio today, then we move on to IA. Then we start designing. But the first step is why. What are we doing? Why are we doing? For whom are we doing? Then when we know, then we start designing. Step 2 is this is where design starts. But before you start putting boxes, there's a bunch of things we need to ask yourself. And then this is typically, I would say, this is what an IE looks like. And if you give me an IE that looks like this, in the deliverable, I'll be happy. We're going to cover more about that, an IE in a diagram. The simplest, the better. One of the B in bubble is basic. Okay. When it's too advanced and when there's color coding and there's too many details in your IE, it's a sign that you're putting too much information into an IE that is too early and it's hard to understand. So it's simple. It has to be very, very simple. And here, when you look at this IE on the board, I can already see that there's a home, right? There's a main home and there are subcategories and there's a hierarchy and I can see that some are dependent, right? That is the IA and that's what it really looks like. And then IA is how do we organize content logically? So how do we know if it's logical? Cart sorting will help us. Clear, intuitive labels. So we're going to talk about labeling in a lot of depth and straightforward and usable navigation path as well. Responsive and in the app. So, and these are all tied to our assignment. This is where I'm going to stop the lecture for today. There's a lot more. So the 2 videos I put for this week, I really highly encourage you. I would say go to the first video and then skip to this point and carry on if you want. I'm going to share with you more life examples. And I think there are 2 videos as well. I will say, if you don't have time to do videos and things, do the videos. Then do the readings. Okay? Because I think you're going to get also more from the videos if you want. Let me talk about Latched. So our lab for this week is about Latch, and I'll be very fast because, so our lab, when does our lab due? Yeah, Friday at noon, and it's 2 points, okay? This one is 2 points, and then there's a Word document that gives you more details about Latch. This week's lab is very simple, very easy to do. In one of the videos, if you go towards the end, I talk about Latch. It talks a little bit about Latch and what Latch does. Let me just share on Blackboard. So again, the lab is done individual submissions, but if you want to work together, you can. But I think that you will agree that this Latch is very, very easy. Okay, so Latch is a way, it's an acronym for category, ways that we can organize/categorize the content, the products, the information, anything that we have, okay? So the first L is for location. The second one is alphabetical. And I will share with you some example. The other one is time. The C for category and C for continuum. But we see continuum, but it's hierarchy. Think of continuum or hierarchy. So furniture, bedroom, kitchen. So there's the hierarchy, like we typically see in the tree that I was just showing you. It starts from the top, and then you have hierarchy, but it was replaced by C for continuum. But you can also think of H as hierarchy. So again, what's important here is there are multiple ways that we can actually categorize content. So what I would like for you to do is I want you to think of a digital product. It could be a website, it could be an app, it could be a software that is organized for each of the 5 different latch categories. It could be all of the same. So you could go to Fido and say, is Fido actually grouping content using the latch, all of latch, or maybe just one latch? Or so maybe one site will use all of these ways of categorizing, or maybe you're going to find 5 websites. It's up to you. But I want you to find examples. Okay, what's important is I want you to find examples for a location, for content that is organized around location. We have a very good example that, sorry, what is your name? Shelly. Shelly said she went to Trivago. Trivago will browse by destination, right? Location is destination or region. Costco. But I think Costco asking you where are you located, I would say I don't know that I would consider it as a location necessarily. I'm looking for something I browse and I click, or I can search. So try to find a website that has an example of location, that they organize content as based on location. Often travel will be one of them, right? If you can think of another website that use alphabetical order as well, that's the easiest. We often see listing, right? Things that are arranged by alphabetical order, right? So you may see that. I think maybe Rexel had some, I don't know if Rexel had some of that, but you will easily find that.
I think it's by category maybe.
Yeah, or by category, exactly. Okay. Time. So try to find a site or an area or a section on the site that is arranging their content by time. Can you, I'm sure you can quickly think of what kind of sites do you think most often will use time? Travel, news, blogs, right? Often blogs, or a site that has information, really like real-time information, often will use from the newest, from the most recent setup. So that most recent newest is usually time, okay? It's just another way of saying time. Yes? If you find one website that has them all, great. But I'd like for you, if you want to stretch, try to find more than one site. Maybe you can find 2 or 3 sites that do, you know, one example. I just want to make sure that you explore sites or ways that that they have categorized the content around this. Okay, categories. So perhaps beauty, product category. I think is easy, right? You're gonna find a lot of categories in a lot of places. In fact, Rogers, cell phone, mobile, internet, those are categories, right? They're product, they're services. So that's probably the easiest one. And that's probably where most companies fail. They do bad job at categorizing their information too. And then continuum or hierarchy. So in the slides, we talk about hierarchy. But think of hierarchy or continuum. It's on the line, right? So they're all related, but so think of furniture or bread or bedding, whatever. So that would be the for C or H in the latch as well. So what I want you to do is, again, individual submission. I want you to share with me an example for each of one, all the same site or different site. I want to see that you found some example, and then give me the URL as well. So make sure you go through the instruction. I don't want to miss anything, and then be sure to include your own comments about how the product is organized. Was this the right choices? Could I have been organized using a different principle? How? So perhaps you may find a site that is actually using alphabetical order, but maybe it's not at all useful. Maybe you don't even know as a user if alphabetical order is what it would actually help you in that task. So when you do your review, think of the user goal and try to see if location makes sense. I think location for Trivago is probably an easy one, but you will see example of alphabetical or time that may not be at all relevant for a user. A good example is, let's say that that I go to a site and it's asking me to first pick the time, but I have no clue when something was posted, and I don't care when something was posted, but I'm looking for that thing. But if I have to have a sense of timing when something happens, then it's actually not helping the user. And then the same thing. So I want you to, in other words, find examples and tell me if you think it's a good, if they've made a good choice, or if you think there was a better choice of of presenting or grouping the information. Maybe they've used location, maybe timing would be better, maybe they've used category, and maybe something, maybe alphabetical will be better too. Okay, I think you can do this in an hour, I would think, and that's probably going to be the shortest lab. So in the class at Latch, there's a video that talks about hat racks and information organization or hierarchy. And then you submit this to the lab, and then you have until Friday, and I will give generic feedback based on what I have seen. If, as you go through the lab, you have any questions, please let me know, course message. I'll be more than happy.
So, sorry, so location is more of like, we check a website in which like the location probably closer. So.
No, location would be, so they're organizing content through so I'm going to share my screen with the class with online as well. And I'm sorry, I'm going over a bit of time here. No, no worries. If anybody wants to go, you're welcome to. It's all being recorded as well, right? That's the beauty. But there's just so much content in this class. Okay, so a location. So here we're looking at how try to find a website that has those location as a way of grouping their content. So they're presenting to you content based on location. Okay. So typically you will see that when you go to a travel website. So I'm going to Air Canada Vacations now. And so if I browse over Air Canada Vacation, they're using categories. So I have all-inclusive, tour packages, flights, and hotels, hotel cruises. So they're product type, they're category types, right? But if I go to, maybe they're using all-inclusive, maybe perhaps they are using some locations as well. And maybe they would have location that will say, yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think find deals. Okay. Okay, they are using locations here under find deals. European, Vegas, right? That's kind of a location too. Sunwing, I know, has as well. Okay, things to do. This is a very good example of location for things to do. When I go to Sunwing, so I went, hey, I want to be inspired for things to do when I go to a destination. So here they've grouped or they're allow you to browse based on location. Antigua, Aruba, Bahamas, right? So they're using location in this case. If you go to blogs, blog articles, you're going to find probably more timing. They're going to be things. So that's an example of location or timing, or we subcategories.
Yeah, and continuum is the hierarchy.
Yes, continuum is the hierarchy as well that you will see. And then packages, flights, hotels, cruises, those are product categories, right? So these are product categories. So packages, flights, hotel, and cruises are product categories. So this is a category. They're using categories. They're not using alphabetical order. Yeah. They're not using timing. They're using categories. So Sunwing has categories, alphabetical, and they probably have blog. They're probably using timing. Let's see. If I go to packages, something interesting here. They're listing by pricing, right? They're using pricing. So perhaps the latch acronym or the latch way doesn't include every ways that you can categorize, right? Maybe you see categorized by pricing, cheapest and most expensive. Think of your sorting too, right? Yeah, screenshots are good too. Screenshots are just easier for me, right? To know what you're trying to explain and support. So I want you to think through Latch of how they categorize their content based on the location, timing, alphabetical categories, or the continuum or hierarchy. And then if you think that there's other ways that you see that they've grouped the content, you can also share that with me. And if you say, hey, I think Sunwing has used alphabetical order for their destination, but I don't think it's a good way here because of X, great, too. Like, maybe it's not how they should have done it. I don't know. We good? I'm very sorry. I went over class. It's 10:52. So that was our first lecture. Next week lecture is Tuesday morning. It will be online. And then now we're done with lecture, and there will be studio at 11:40. We're going to do studio. And then if you're a transfer, if you're not in 2003, then you don't have to stay for studio. Anybody else, you can stay or you can go, and it will be online, but it's not going to be recorded. And I would probably stay here for studio as well. So thank you for coming. Are you staying for studio?
I'm a transfer student. So
Okay, so you're transferred. What is your name?
Jason.
Jason. Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And great. So, but Jason and Jeremy, and then there's a few others. You're going to do the same assignment, but I will share with you the details of what the projects will be. Good. Thank you for coming. Good. So thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. What is your name? Ni.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Are you a transfer as well? Okay, so I was told we have 4 students that are transfers, so perhaps this is it. Okay, good. So perfect. No worries, you're gonna do the same assignment. They're gonna be as difficult, but the topic will be different. The business will be different as well. Good.
Hey,
So
Yves.
you're welcome to stay. Huh?
Are we allowed to be in here?
Yes, I'm gonna go and grab something and eat as well. So
Yves, can I ask a question
okay, so we're
before you
done
head
for
out?
online. I'm just gonna say bye to
No?
online, and
Wait, Yves.
for our next in person, perhaps you'll choose to come and be with us. If not, then we will continue to do online. I hope you enjoyed the session. If there are any questions, yes, Liz has a question. Okay, go ahead, Liz.
Yes. I was just wondering, so for the lab this week, for the studio this week, is it for starting like the first assignment, the combined assignment between you and Sarah? Can you hear me?
No. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, for some reason I can't hear you. I don't know if it's the audio from the room. Over there? Okay, so I'm gonna go. I have to move away from the computer to hear you. So you could hear over there? Did you see?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, but I have to move away from my computer.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just wondering for the studio this week, is it for starting the assignment with you and Sarah?
Yes, so it will start. This week we're going to start on the first assignment for the week and the I diagram. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And Elizabeth, it's on BDES 2003 under assignment for responsive. This is where we're going to move on for studio. We're going to move on to BDES 2003 and the responsive studio assignment.
Okay. Okay, that sounds
We're
good.
going to switch Blackboard for the content, but you don't have to switch Blackboard for the recording.
Okay, that sounds good. And then, so actually, it's because I'm not feeling too well today, so that's why I'm not in class. But it's okay to attend virtually as well.
I think I'll leave my water bottle.
Yes. And you can choose to be in person or virtually for lectures. They're being recorded. I know it's a bit strange because I'm in between, like trying to make sure I pay attention to online and also in class. But yes, it's up to you.
Okay, I'll definitely be coming in class, but not today.
I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Awesome.
Okay, thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Eve. Hi, Eve. Can I
Yes.
ask you something? Are you gonna
Yes.
keep live online in the studio class now?
So now we are in studio, and
So-
I will keep this session on Blackboard. I will leave it open,
Okay.
but I will not be recording because it's going to be difficult
Okay.
to be recorded.
Okay.
We'll see you in a bit.
Sure. I
It will
just
be
want to
hard,
see.
I believe, to record. But maybe I'm going to keep the recording on and see. But
Okay.
it will be. I will keep Blackboard, and I will open up some breakout sessions for
Awesome.
people that are online.
Okay, I got it. Okay, I'll see you in the middle. Okay.
Yeah, so at 11:40, you can come back to join again Blackboard, same Blackboard that you were in, and then I will open up breakout and I will give the instructions.
Got it. Okay.
For those of you that are online. Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, how are you? What is your name?
Haman, or just call me William.
William? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. But you'll have to give me also what is your student name
Okay.
as well, so that I know.
Oh, like a student ID.
No. So perhaps maybe what you want to do is, if you, you can write your name here. Jeremy, I know your name. There was Jason.
Yeah.
And me.
I know it's at the end of the class for that. The continuum in terms of hierarchy, like when we're searching like a website for hierarchy.
Let me show you. Okay, so if we have students that are online, that's good. I'm going to show hierarchy. And the video goes in more detail about hierarchy, but let me show you, I'm going to use, actually, Costco is probably a good example of hierarchy.
So you come back here like after like
11:40.
11:40.
Yeah, 11:40, you come back here, then we're going to move on to studio.
Like I have like a time conflict. Like I have like a service design like right at the same time as we're like.
Oh, you transfer.
Yeah,
you don't
that's
have to
what-
come to studio.
Final come to studio?
No.
Oh, I see.
You don't have to come to studio because we're working on the project in combination with BDES 2003, which you're not in.
Oh, I see.
So you could come and stay in because the methodology and the process is relevant, right? But you don't have to come to studio because I know you guys are not in BDES 2003. So you're good. You know studio, but you will have to do the assignment.
Yeah.
But what I will do is I think I have to schedule a meeting with the four of you and explain to you what the assignment will be. You'll do the same assignments, but instead of working on the project that we're working for BDES 2003, your assignments will be the zoo, the Toronto Zoo. Yeah. The labs, you'll see, the labs will be a Nightwood theater, like a theater, but then the assignments for you four will be the Toronto Zoo.
Okay.
It's fun. Yeah. So you don't have to do studio.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. So, well, nice to meet you, William.
Nice to meet you too.
Welcome to the program. And then next week we'll be online.
All right.
So yeah, you have no studio. So we are 2 hours a week per week. That's it for us. Good. Did you enjoy the class today?
Yeah, it's really fun.
Okay.
It was
Awesome.
my first time being in this school, so like it's kind of like new. So like I was kind of getting lost. Like
It was my first time in class too. So in this class, in this school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you for being understanding.
No problem.
Cool. So welcome and good luck with the program.
Thank you.
Good. Enjoy the rest of your week. Okay. So Fong, I will answer your question. Let's look at structure. So one of the questions that Jeremy has is, can you give me an example of hierarchy? Hierarchy and categories are kind of similar. And that's a bit of a challenge because if you think of furniture, furniture, you can think that it's hierarchy, right? Furniture, then you're going to have bed, bedroom. That is kind of a hierarchy or even categories. They're similar. And I will say, whether it's category, whether it's continuum, whether it's hierarchy, honestly, I think what's important is understanding what they've used for grouping and if the grouping makes sense. How we call this specific grouping. So if you think of furniture, decor, new, lighting, small budget, maybe budget is a category, is a continuum because you have different budget and it's budget $1, $100, that's maybe more continuum, right? Maybe pricing is a continuum. Maybe that's a way of thinking about it. But if you think of furniture, right? Furniture is a hierarchy, a category, but maybe you can think of it as a hierarchy too. You have furniture, living room, you have bedroom, and then you have
Everything is broken
offices.
down.
So it's broken down, but I would say if you're not sure if it's category or if it's continuum or hierarchy, what matter is you can say I have found instructor the furniture and they use maybe it's category or whatever, living room and bedroom, and then under living room I have sofa, I have leather, I have sectional. Under bedroom I have beds, mattresses. Now under bed, these are more categories, right?
Yeah.
Beds, mattresses, they're not. A bed and a mattress is not the same. A chest is not the same. So these are really categories. They're not on the continuum.
Yeah.
So they're kind of a category slash hierarchy. I don't know.
It's broken down, but like it's kind of confusing.
Yeah. It's the lines. I find the lines
very slim.
Yeah, and maybe I can see if there's a better explanation that I can provide to it. But
That's okay.
don't get too caught up on. Find some examples of how they group. Okay? Like how they group their information. Like you see here, they have new. So this is new is like kind of a time, right? It's a time element.
Yeah.
Lightning is a category. Decor is a category. Small budget. But yeah, you'll see with me. I don't get too picky on these little things.
Okay.
But I just want to see that you looked at how have they organized content.
Okay.
And see if you can clearly, like, I think alphabetical timing is easy, and the
Yeah.
product category product is, an easy one. But
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. So if you have any questions, Jeremy, between then, let me know. And I think what I will do is maybe I'll schedule a meeting for the four of us
Okay.
to talk about the assignment. But the first assignment will be, the dates are the same, and then the first date is September 27th. It will be court sorting and IAs, and
Okay.
but we'll get through. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks.
Enjoy your week.
You too.
Thank you.